When I was about 13 years old, my dad let me know that he actually worked with somebody who used to wrestle full-time in Canada. I really wanted to meet this guy. My dad didn't have too much information about him, but said he was really friendly. And at the time, there was the annual ballpark brawl that was happening in my hometown of Buffalo. And my dad reached out to his coworker and asked if he would come with us. He agreed, and he said he was going to bring me an 8x10, a signed 8x10, which was really nice of him. And we met him there. I found out, he was this big, burly guy. He gave me some information about when he used to wrestle in Canada, and he said he used to be a tag team with his, I believe, twin brother. But they looked exactly the same, and he brought me an old school black and white 8x10 signed with his name, and we went around to this ballpark brawl together. I believe he actually said hi and had a conversation with George the Animal Steel, who was walking around the hallways of this ballpark arena. That was hilarious to see. So he got me to meet George the Animal Steel, which was really cool. This was probably 2005. And I asked him kind of, well, what were you really known for? And probably to my dad's dismay, he told me that he had been known for one of the more unfortunate events in professional wrestling. Well, I come to find out that I'm talking to Mike Kelly. I think his real name was Bill, but he wrestled as Mike Kelly with his brother all over the Canadian territory, and he was the one driving the car when Adrian Adonis passed away. He was the only survivor in the car of the Adrian Adonis trip. And I'm 13 years old. Of course, I have no idea who Adrian Adonis is. But he's telling me this incredible story about the day that they were all packed in the car together and how he lost his brother. And he pretty much retired from wrestling and somehow ended up working in a pharmaceutical plant in Buffalo, New York with my dad. That was really my first introduction to the legacy of Adrian Adonis with the driver of the car that day. And of course, he's explaining to a 13-year-old a pretty traumatic event. Crazy.
Yeah, very traumatic. You might even have some trauma from that. I bet you do. You think he's got trauma? To be in that car where a handful of wrestlers die and you survive? You got to hold on to that for the rest of your life. Very, very traumatic. I did some of those ballpark brawls up in Buffalo. Those were always fun. A hodgepodge of professional wrestlers. Actually, it's one of the last times I ever saw Trent Acid, who also passed away at a young age. Maybe a lot of Googling for some of you wrestling fans out there. Trent Acid and especially Adrian Adonis, one of the bests. In, I would say, 2011 to like 2014, I did a lot of trips and tours in Newfoundland, Canada. And that is where this car accident did happen. And I remember we did this kind of like 8-show tour, and some of the wrestlers were like, this was the road that car accident happened on. And then as we got to the spot, they were like, that's the cliff where it all went down. And that's always kind of wild. Speaking for myself, like I just went to Philadelphia the other day, and we went and saw the Liberty Bell, and you see all of these historic places, and you're in the exact spot as these historic places went down. And here I am, a kid from Chicago, traveling halfway across the world and then traveling the same roads and seeing the exact spot where Adrian Adonis died. Also, I think that year was in a locker room, sharing a locker room with the man who allegedly murdered Bruiser Brody. And Bison Smith, rest in peace, another name you should Google, going, hey, Colt, there's Invader. That's the guy who allegedly killed Bruiser Brody. A lot of history, a lot of nostalgia. And an interesting story from someone who was so close to this guy, a story that we probably don't hear. Also, a part of wrestling that we don't hear about. We know about Adrian Adonis, but we really don't know that much about the others in the car. Or I don't think there's that much done about this guy who was the survivor of the car. So pretty wild that you get to talk to him firsthand, and family friends with such a piece of wrestling history. Hey, thanks for watching. That call was part of a whole podcast called Wrestling Anonymous. Listen to the whole thing weekly. Wherever you listen to your podcast, go subscribe. And while you're at it, subscribe right here on YouTube to Colt Cabana's channel. Thank you.